Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's me, Bomb1337.
And it's Dozer, the PC Exposer.
And you are listening to the You Should Play This podcast. So let's get right into it. Yeah! Can you dig it? Welcome, folks, to another Just Bustin' Open. As you know, I am one for the seltzer water, bustin' and open. Welcome to another episode of the You Should Play This podcast. Another fun day. 1 week away from PAX.
Yes. And
Lord.
I am so excited for this. I mean, I'm dreading the flight because I know I have to take that Thursday night red-eye flight. So I'll be seeing you Friday morning.
Yes,
hopefully
you will,
I'll get
sir.
some sleep on the plane.
Yeah,
Well,
you know what? We've got some time before we go and do anything that day. So if you want to lay down for a little bit, that you're more than welcome to.
Dozer, it's 7 o'clock at night. We're going to miss the wrestling.
No. We will not be doing that. I will drag your carcass right into that car. Before we get started today, we want to do a shout out to Play It Retro. Yeah, Play It Retro. Located in Bruin, Illinois, and you can find them at 3142 Oak Park Ave. You can check them out on Facebook through Play It Retro. They're open Monday through Saturday, 12 to 9, and Sunday, 12 to 5, and you can reach them at 708-637-4748. They have video games from every generation of every system, Blu-rays and DVDs. I talked to David today, the owner. Wicked rad dude, super cool to talk to. He told me he just got 3 complete in box copies of Clay Fighter Sculptor Cut, the
awesome.
holy grail right now of Nintendo 64 games. Like you can hit him up if you go to his store and you mention this podcast. You just walk up and at checkout you go, I just want to give a shout out to the You Should Play This podcast. If you mention that, you get 10% off your purchase. 10% off of like a $600 game is like insanely good, I think. You know,
$60.
So if you're going, dude, if you're going in to save a little bit of money, you can do it. If you just, all you have to do is mention You Should Play This at the register and you will get 10% off at your checkout, which is pretty rad. So again, check that place out. It's called Play It Retro. Again, they're located at 3142 Oak Park Ave in Bruin, Illinois. Awesome guy, too.
Way cool.
Really, really, really fun. And congratulations, David, on the new baby. Very cool and nice person to talk to. He's got an awesome, and he's passionate about gaming, too, and that's another thing. You know, when you go into these mom and pop shops, you get that. You get that good camaraderie feeling. It's like you're there for the same reason they are there kind of feeling. And it's nice. It is nice.
Indeed.
Anyways, before we get into the topic today, too, I just got finished playing about an hour and a half of the Doom beta.
Oh, how is it?
It's nasty. It's so good. It's mind-blowingly good. Like, I only reached level 6, but man, I mean, like, it's almost like every level you get so many cool little upgrades and, like, things you can modify your ammo and your camo and all that stuff, too.
It's a modern version of the game, or is it like, has it been modernized, or is it like an old game that they just remastered?
So, all they have available is the multiplayer. The maps, I don't know if the maps are, like, based off of the original Doom sets or not. It's hard for me to imagine the original Doom sets and maps translated to this type of graphical comprehension.
Okay.
I think what's cool, I mean, they're probably based off the original Doom maps, but it's just like a room. There's like little portals in certain areas. You can zip from one side to the next side. Really, really cool, like, weapon power-ups, and like every match, about twice a match in the death match at least, you get the ability to, like, I forget what they call it, I only heard it like a couple times, but you become a demon. You have to like run over and get the power up, and like when you're a demon, you're like, your health is at like 1,000% and you just shoot fireballs and they're like insta kills. And it's great. Like if you get like a good group of people in a row, you can get 5 to 10 kills without like even thinking about it. But it's just a rad game. And then when, you know, obviously when the other team gets it, you're like, oh, and you like run for the hills. But like the multiplayer maps are cool. It's the beta, you know what I mean? So
yeah, I'll have to check it out.
It's going to be a lot smoother, I'm sure. Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, it's coming out in May. It's right around the corner. I mean, it's
oh yeah.
It's just a month away at this point. So the
Hopefully
game
you got
looks
your
great.
taxes done.
Yo, I did 2 days ago. Finally got it done.
Yeah, me too.
I turbo-taxed all night long. It was a great time.
That's awesome.
So,
Oh, dude. Dude.
Yeah.
Before I forget, I got my
Okay.
E3 passes. So I'm going to be going to E3 in June. So they finally came in my credentials. So
woo!
yeah, we'll see what I can get there.
James, that's going to be awesome. Get some cool E3 stuff. I can't wait to see what's going on there. Yeah, we're planning on doing like a fun little like marathon day at E3. I think on that Saturday.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be broadcasting on Twitch all day.
I'm so excited you got
James-
that hooked up.
Yeah. So, that's another thing. Jeepers creepers. We got so many things to do, and we're already like 5-6 minutes into the right. Yeah, we're on Twitch
Like
now.
with all the news. It's like the news
Yeah.
we're starting with.
Yeah. So we're on Twitch now, and you can find us on Twitch at You Should Play This. And it's great. Like we've already got a couple of subscribers. I mean, we've only had it for 24 hours, not even. But we haven't promoted it really yet. I told some friends on Facebook. But last night I had like a room of 48 people watching me play dodgeball on NES. Which was fun, and like I had my cell phone out. I don't have my microphone hooked up yet. I will get my microphone and my webcam hooked up, so like it's a lot more fun, I guess, talking to people. Between like levels, I was responding to everybody who was commenting, and it was getting tough because I had my cell phone out and I'm like responding to people's, what they're saying, but like at the same time. So it's cool. I mean, and it's fun. I'm going to be playing retro games once James gets his computer all suited. He's going to be playing like awesome new and fun PC games. So hopefully you'll get the gamut. We got a lot of requests for Dreamcast games, so we'll jump on that too. Yeah, So look at all that news that we have. That's
awesome. So let's get into the show topic then.
Let's get into the topic of the show.
I feel we already
fun.
had a show.
Yeah, I know. All right, let's go to the break. We'll be right back. Well, James, let's get right into the topic of the show today. And the topic of the show today, James, is
Clash of the Handheld. Game Boy versus Game Gear.
That's a serious topic we're talking about here. This was like one of the first handheld fights to ever happen.
Handheld systems, but this is a multi-system. These are the first cartridge systems. Because before this, all you had was like just your basic, like you have a football game, you have Pac-Man, the game.
all the Tiger stuff.
Yeah,
everything Tiger ever made, and then like more than that, they had like the Game and Watch stuff, and the Game Boy is the successor of the Game and Watch technically, and the Game Gear was the first one. So let's get into it a little bit. You wanna run down on some specs with me here, Dozer?
Alrighty. Let's see about the Game Boy.
Yeah, let's start with the Game Boy. What do we got?
Let's see. It was released in 1989. Had several variations. It had a Game Boy. Was it a Pocket Edition, a light, and a color? I remember the color.
I remember the Game Boy Pocket. It was a little bit smaller.
And the top-selling game of that thing was the Pokemon Red and Blue.
Well, it's crazy. Yeah. I mean, I have both of them still.
I think my grandma-in-law has the original Game Boy too. She actually, when she goes on plane fights, she's 89, I think, right now. She still plays the thing, still works.
That's amazing. Yeah, I've seen some crazy pictures of like Game Boys that have been like over while people are at war and they get like totally boiled and they still turn on, which goes to show that system is just a tank. It retailed at like $89.99, right?
I was just going to say, that's phenomenal. That was the right thing Nintendo did in this whole...
That's a great price point for sure. But here's the thing that was a little different, and one of the big positive things. One of the things that was a little tough to deal with was that not backlit green and yellow and black screen.
Yeah.
I mean, you had a 16 color palette on that, and it was variations of yellow, green, and black. And it was a very ugly screen, and if you didn't have enough light, you couldn't see it. It didn't have a backlight. There were accessories for it and stuff like that. But here was one of the big draws to it. 4 AA batteries gave you about 40 hours worth of time to play.
Wow. That's like you could like leave that on for days. Like, oh, I left this in my pocket over the weekend. Huh, I still got some battery. But that's probably what led to the success. I mean, you look at how many units? It was 118 million?
118.69 million units sold worldwide.
Wonderful.
Yes.
That's a lot. That's a lot of units.
That's 1989. The NES came out. It was a huge success.
Yep.
The Game Boy.
So 85, the NES
the Game
came
Boy.
out, and then the Game Boy comes out in 89. You got a pocket version of the Nintendo. But let's get into the Game Gear. The Game Gear had some really cool things going on for it as well. It was released in 1990. It had a couple of other variations too. They had a red Game Gear and a blue Game Gear. There was a sports package and a Coca-Cola package. The Coca-Cola package was a Japanese one. But then there was a white one that's kind of rare to find around here, and that was sold with a TV tuner, which was really cool. I mean, to think that you could take a handheld system with a TV tuner and watch like TV in the car while you're driving to grandma's house or something like that.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah. Another thing that was kind of cool about it too was Game Gear was through Sega was discontinued earlier than the Majesco bought the actual rights to it and made it for a couple more years after the Game Gear was discontinued. So there are different types of the Game Gear out there, some more valuable than others. But from what I understand, if you get the Majesco version, they have better screens and they're less likely to have sound issues. So that's interesting to know if you're looking for it. What was the top selling game on that? Was it
Sonic the Hedgehog?
No, it was Sonic the Hedgehog, of course.
I mean, that's Sega's Mario brother. He's it's Sonic the Hedgehog.
Sega's bread and butter, baby. It retailed at $149.99.
Not bad, not a bad price, but still, I mean, Nintendo was what, $60?
Well, it's 60 more bucks than the Game Boy. I mean, if you're gonna go into the store with mom and dad, and you go, I want a game thing, and mom and dad look up and they go, now that one's $90. That one's $150. I'll get the $90 one, That's just kind of how that goes. Here was one of the things that was kind of a bummer about it, though. 6 AA batteries with a 5-hour game span.
Oh, that'd be an expensive habit. Because I don't know if they had rechargeable batteries that were worth a hoot in the 1990.
Back then, probably not. Not good ones. And we still don't have the best ones. Some of them are okay. I mean, 6 AA batteries. Now, in order to play that for a couple hours a night during the week, you would have to buy like an 18-pack of batteries a week.
Oh, my goodness.
That becomes an expensive habit. The games retailed, I mean, on both sides, the games retailed between $24.99 and $34.99. So the games weren't like overly crazy pricey. I mean, for back then.
Yeah.
Today you wouldn't spend more than like $1 on some of these games, but it is what it is. Here's something crazy though. It had a 4,909 color palette screen.
I wonder where they got that number from.
I wonder how they got to that number. That's a crazy color palette, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, far exceeding the Nintendo. I mean, if you were to go by that standard, would you want to look at a 4-color, ugly 4-colored screen, or do you want to look at 4,909 colors? I mean, take your pick. I mean, that's almost a Sony product in itself.
Absolutely, but here's where it all starts. This is the marketing is really where this all started taking, a grasp by. When the Game Boy first hit the market, they played it just like the Nintendo. And they played it like, this is a family machine, and you can get 2 of them and link them together, and you can play side by side. You can play Battleship, or you can play Tetris, and, Technically, Tetris was the highest volume game to be put out because Tetris came with the original Game Boy setup. So you could say it was the highest selling game. It really wasn't. I mean, it came with a Game Boy. That's not fair. They started, with that whole family-oriented thing. And then Game Gear was like, all right, we need to get edgy. As you do in the 90s. The 90s was full of edge. Full of, piss and vinegar, as they will. And
Generation X.
Generation X, baby. In Game Pro, a video game magazine that's far extinct, but I remember it very fondly.
Oh, yeah. Me too.
Game Gear's first campaign against the Game Boy was a one-page, solid black ad with writing on it with a Game Gear on the bottom, and it simply stated, if you have an IQ below 12 and are colorblind, then the Game Boy is right for you. Right.
Oh, such a low blow.
let's talk about this a little bit. They only released that ad once, and with good reason. What I think you should look into in this is, we live in a very intense age of trying to say and trying not to be too mean, and that's a good thing, to try to be good to each other and not make fun of people's disabilities. This was the first time I ever saw an outrage against a certain thing. They looked at it and said, you're making fun of people with disabilities. It was a bad shot right off the bat for Sega.
I know Nintendo themselves. At that time was doing some pretty low stuff to the other companies. It was, the console war was going on, but Sega, this as a response was, definitely.
Yes, absolutely. There was a console war going on. Yes, Nintendo was doing some low things. They were doing them quietly behind the scenes. They were suing people. They were, but Sega's just like, we got $50 for an ad, and let's just make fun of people who play Game Boys.
Well, and the funny thing about this is digital media. They say 100 years from now, 97% of digital medium will be gone. But 100 years from now, this was GamePro magazine. There's going to be still copies around, so all this might be gone, but there'll be a copy of GamePro magazine sitting somewhere where it'll have this ad that people can look at. So
people are going to look at it and go, "Holy moly, what?" Let's talk about the sales of the Game Gear a little bit, though. Sales were a little lower. Now this was there were a total of 4. There were a total of 4 competitors at the time. We'll touch on the other 2 really quick. TurboGrafx 16 had a handheld, and it was called the Turbo Express. It was made by NEC. And Atari had a handheld, and it was called the Atari Lynx. I actually know more people who have an Atari Lynx than I knew had a Game Gear, which is kind of funny.
Interesting.
Their numbers are so low. We're talking maybe between the 2 units, we're talking 3 million tops sold between the 2.
Oh, yeah. That's horrible.
As far as the Game Gear, now the Game Gear was the closest competitor that Nintendo had, and the Game Gear sold 10.62 million units worldwide.
Less than 10%.
About 100 million short of outselling the Game Boy. That's what we would call a colossal flop, but they were the only ones really close to competing. Now, if you look at the Nintendo and the Sega Genesis and the Super Nintendo, those numbers are a little bit closer.
Yeah.
But this is blown out of the water. So since these systems, these other 3 systems, and I guess I'll just lump the Game Gear into it, since these systems sold so low, maybe 13 million between the group, how was it considered such a war? Literally, if you look at the numbers, you can see the difference between the 2 companies. How could they possibly have considered to be in the race for this? How was this an actual competing system? And how come it had such a fan base? There were diehard people no, the Sega Game Gear's a far superior system. I remember, you remember that movie Mallrats, James?
Oh, yeah.
All right, what was the, he was on, the big, not Jason Lee, the other guy who was on My Name Is Earl as well.
Oh, yeah, I forget his name. I know what you mean. He was also in The Butterfly Effect, I think.
Yeah, he was in like a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
It's so funny. Like, I got a Mallrats poster hanging on my wall, but it doesn't have any of their names on it.
Why can't I not see? Why can't I see the scooter? Or the scooter?
Yeah. It was, yeah.
Why?
So good. But yes, it's him, that guy right there, and he's been in tons of other things. But one of his big acting debuts was he was in a Game Gear commercial.
Oh, wow.
And if you look up terrible video game commercials, I'm sure it's on the list. And he's sitting there and he's playing a Game Boy, and he's like, big, fat, slothy looking guy. And he's like, ugh. And he's playing a Game Boy, and he hits himself over the head with a giant stick. And then he's like, oh, colors. And then the guy's like, you don't gotta see colors like that. You can play a Game Gear. And he's like, you could be like this guy. And he's like, boo. It's like they really just like attacked. That was their platform was like, let's attack the fact that there's no color in the screen. And then as they're doing that, they're like, okay, but should we make any good games? They're like, nah, let's not.
Well, that's the thing is, and that's what it boils down to. Nintendo's always been more savvy that way. I mean, they're like 4 colors primarily, but they could outsell everybody else because they've always made great games. I mean,
let's get into some of the innovations before we come to a conclusion on how this whole thing came down. The innovations that were kind of cool. Yeah. Game Gear had the analog TV tuner. By far one of the coolest things. Unfortunately, it was so deep into the system's release that people were just like not interested. That's why you don't see a lot of those white Game Gears floating around. The Game Boy itself had some cool innovations on its own. The Game Boy camera and printer were two really cool things that you could create, they called them stamps. You could create these stamps and actually like take a picture of yourself pixelated, create these sticker stamps, and it was a really cool concept. I mean, I remember I had a friend who used to take pictures of stuff on his Game Boy printer, print them out, and then put them on Pogs. And he would come to school with his like own custom Pogs with his face on them and stuff like that. The downfall of both these systems obviously was incompatibility as they were moving forward. But one like other innovation, it was the Sega Nomad. And that was a color screen handheld system that played Sega games, which was really cool. Oh, yeah. But the Game Boy went off to become the Game Boy Advance, which came off to be the Game Boy Advance SP, which led to the DS, which led to the DSi, which led to the 3DS. And they're still moving. Sega never tried to do anything again. It was almost like they walked away with their tail between their legs. Do you think if Sega went for another platform, they would have been successful, or do you think it would have been the same hat?
No, I think because they would have had to compete with more with like Xbox and PS. I mean, you look at slowly what came after that. It was the PSP that came out, and they would have had to compete with that, because I think that has given Nintendo its run for its money as far as a successful handheld system.
I mean, the PSP when it came out is cool. Yeah, in the PS Vita, like a lot of people, it's very underrated. It's a very underrated system. The PS Vita has a lot of really cool Japanese games that come to the United States that you would never, ever, ever see. For some reason, it's like that niche market, and it works out very well for them. I love my Vita. I also love my 3DS, so it's hard for me to say, like, those are my handhelds are my two favorite systems. They get the most play. I mean, my PS4 is cool and stuff like that. And I'm talking about modern systems. I'm not talking about retro systems. Like, you can't beat a Super Nintendo, as far as I'm concerned. It's such a great system. The Sega's cool too. I mean, Yeah, I mean, they all have their charm. I mean, the TurboGrafx, all those. But TurboGrafx 16 has some really, really cool games that never had the opportunity to see the true light of day. I feel like a lot of them would be like Air Zonk was like one of the best shooting games I've ever played in my life. And, Blazing Lasers. There's so many great games on the TurboGrafx 16 that never, ever made it. You know what? That's what I'm going to do tomorrow. Tomorrow night, Oh, I gotta go out tomorrow night. But when I get home, I'll hop onto Twitch. Afterwards, I'll hop onto Twitch and I'll play some TurboGrafx 16. That'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
You just every single night when I'm not doing a podcast or don't have someplace to be, I'll be on Twitch. So make sure you subscribe to us at You Should Play This. I'll play some Game Gear and some Game Boy games too. Why not? Those will be fun. I mean,
why not?
But at the end of the day, the Game Boy was the successful one. Nintendo won again, unfortunately. It's too bad because just numbers, man, just numbers. Like at the end of the day, like there were people who you could buy. I mean, towards the end of the span of the Game Boy, they were going for like $50, and you could buy 2 of those and a link cable and 2 games and go home and still have not spent as much money as you would have on a Game Gear and 1 game.
I mean, it's simple math.
Yeah, it's all about pricing. Like my Game Boy still turns on. My Game Gear, it's a little dicey. It's a little dicey from time to time.
And I think that was also a big thing. I know the Turbo Express had some problems with bad capacitors, and it was one of the first, handhelds too that had LCD screens, so it had problems with dead pixels. So
yeah.
Which and maybe that's why Nintendo chose to do its screens the way it did with the limited palette, because maybe it could put out, kind of a tank of a unit that could withstand the years.
Absolutely. And of course there were a couple of their systems to come and go handheld, but what are we going to do? Sit here and talk about the N gauge? Come on. We ain't time for that. As far as handheld systems are concerned, back in the 90s, there were 4 true systems in the handheld division. And that was the Game Boy, which was the winner, the Game Gear, which came in a far, far second place, and then the TurboGrafx 16 handheld, the Turbo Express, and the Atari Lynx. And those, I guess they're tied for third, because I can't imagine they sold any more than 1.5 each. I mean, like I said at the beginning of this podcast, I knew more people with an Atari Lynx than I knew with a Game Gear growing up. And I thought the system was awesome, personally.
It looks cool.
But it had some cool games, but that was another one of those systems where it took like a bajillion batteries and it died immediately. No third-party support. I mean, that's kind of one of the things that Sega always had, was they had third-party support. TurboGrafx 16 occasionally had third-party support. Occasionally, but it didn't always work for them. It comes down to Nintendo being a superpower again. I guess these guys are just evil, and we just keep coming back to it in every podcast.
The evil we love.
The evil we love, the evil we need. All right, well, we're gonna head into the break, and we'll be right back with a PPR. It's a fun PPR and a mailbag. The mailbag's good this week, so we'll be back in a couple minutes after this break. So sit back and relax. Woo!
See ya.
We'll be right back. Bye.
You are listening to the You Should Play This podcast.
This is Babam1337.
And this is Dozer the PC Exposer.
You can see all of our shows at YouShouldPlayThis.com.
Or follow us on Facebook at You Should Play This.
Or write us an email at YSPTpodcast@gmail.com.
You can also direct message us on our Facebook page with questions you have about gaming.
Now back to our podcast, previously recorded. And we're back from the break. Woo!
We're back from the break. Yeah.
So we're doing a throwback PPR tonight because it's good. It's a good price on Steam, and we figured, well, there were a couple of good games that came out this week, but we were like, meh, let's go for a throwback. Nice throwback game. And the game that we have today, James, is
100% orange juice.
100% orange juice. So let me run this down, baby. 100% Orange Juice is a goal-oriented board game played by Orange Juice all-star cast, including characters from Acceleration of Let me try to say this word really quick. Sugire? Sugai. I haven't actually said it out loud. I've only read this. Sugiri. Oh, I'm gonna go with Sugiri. Hopefully, I say it right. If I don't, whatever. I'll say that I don't know how to pronounce it correctly because I'm an idiot. From Acceleration of Sugari, Flying Red Barrel, Sora, and QP Shooting. It's available for Windows, PC. Obviously, it's developed by Orange Juice, and it's available on Fruit Bat Factory and Steam. So now that I got all those words out, I do apologize because I'm sure I mispronounced one of the anime titles. I got Sora right though, because we got that here. I've seen that. Everything else I haven't seen. But no, let's talk about this game a little bit. This game, I mean, like, I'm a huge Mario Party fan, so this game came at me pretty naturally. It's kind of like Mario Party without the intense mini games. It's got like little fighting mini games and some card battle stuff going on. What was your impression of the game, being someone who isn't like really super versed in Mario Party games or party games per se?
I thought this game was a little odd at first. I kind of had a little hard time figuring out the rules. Maybe I should have paid attention to the tutorial a little more. But
yeah, that'll get you every time.
But as I played the game and started to discover how to play it, it became funner and more fun and more fun and fun. So it was, I thought it was awesome.
Yeah, I really like the idea that, so each time your character goes around the board, you have two options. You have to pick up a certain amount of stars that you get collected. They give you a couple every round, or you can land on specific squares, or you can battle enemies to get more stars and get their stars. You can do one of two things to get your goal to a 5-star point. There's 5 stars that you have to collect at the end. And in order to get this was where it lost me a little bit because there's 5 stars that you need to get, and those are the big stars. And then there's little stars that you need to collect, and those are the little stars, but they call them stars on both sides. They don't call one like achievement star or like prize star. They're just called stars. So there's as I'm explaining stars. This, it's yeah, it's bonus stars, but they're just stars. They're all bonus stars, when it comes down to it. So you need to get 5 markers filled, and the markers are, the symbol of the markers are stars. And in order to do that, you stop at your little area and you pick up, either your goal is either to collect, 10 stars, 30 stars, 70 stars, 160 stars, or 200 stars. Or to fight a certain amount of people, which in the game goes 1, 3, 6, 9, 15. Once you've made all those accomplishments, you're able to go back to your base, collect the main star, and then when you get all those main stars, you've won the game. Do I still have you, James? Are you still there?
Yeah. Yes.
Did you get all that? All right, cool. So after playing that game for about an hour, I really got into the groove of playing the game.
Yeah, it did. That's what I was getting at earlier. Yeah, it was just kind of like, it's kind of weird at first. You don't know what to think about it. It's got all the great music going, and, it's the graphics are kind of trippy and stuff. And then, but then you're just trying to figure out the little subtle nuances. Like, why don't I have as many stars as the rest of the people? How are they getting more stars? Oh, okay.
Yeah. The game gets relentless towards the end. If you're trying the actual story mode, you're talking about, I can't even tell you how many hours I've logged on it already. I'm probably up in 15, 16 hours, and I haven't even completed the first chapter of the story mode yet. But that's really cool though. That means that there's a lot. there's a lot to offer. This game has a lot to offer and play. I think this was a great bang for your buck. It's $6.99 on the Steam market.
Oh, yeah.
They have several different games with it and tons of DLC. So the game doesn't get boring, like, at all. You have so many different maps, so many different ways of playing. And you can play with friends online, and you can play with friends sitting at your house. So it's got multiplayer, which is
awesome.
It just makes the game a lot cooler because you're able to play this awesome board game where, like, it's nail biter. Once you get towards the end, it's like anything can happen. You can, be down to 1 HP, land on a bad square, defend when you should have dodged, and then, like, die and lose all your stars right before the end of the game, and it's like a scramble to try to get them back. Unforgiving at points this game gets, without a doubt. I mean, I'm a big fan, so let's get right into the ratings and let's go down the line. James, graphics, what'd you give it?
I gave it a 7. I thought the graphic design was... I'm unfamiliar with the cartoon, but I thought within the genre of
James.
Oh, yep.
Anime. Come on.
Oh, sorry.
Come on.
The anime.
We just lost 8 fans.
Hey, I like anime too. I'm more old school, but So the anime, I thought it was a beautiful
palette. Pictures.
And I thought it did a great job, the graphic design and how everything was laid out on the screen. So I said I gave it a solid 7.
Cool. I gave it an 8 for a lot of the same reasons. I think everything looked really well. I think they displayed the characters really nicely. And I like that huge head, little body concept of making things look mini. And then when you get up front, they're a little bit bigger. And the characters that they had, the bosses and the mini bosses that you had to fight were really colorfully designed. So I liked that. I thought that was a lot of fun. James, gameplay, hit me up.
Another 7. I thought the gameplay, I thought it was exceptionally well. 7 is a high rating in my book. It definitely had me going and wanting to play. I mean, the rounds are a little long. I mean, if you want a quick game, you'll be sitting there for about 15 minutes? Maybe? I don't know.
I mean, most of my games last 15 to 45 minutes, depending on the map.
Yeah.
Some of the maps are really big and have, like, teleporters and stuff like that. I mean, you can be sucked into that game for like an hour at a time, which is a huge bummer when you get so close to winning and then you die. You're an hour deep. It's like playing Mars 2030 all over.
Oh, God.
So I gave the gameplay a 6, and that's a low rating for me. And I gave it a 6 because the gameplay, as much fun as I had with it, and this is coming from a guy who can play beat-em-up games for days. As much fun as I had with it, I found that the gameplay became super hard for no reason. It was almost like they increased the difficulty. The closer you were getting to finishing, it was like the CPU just went absolutely crazy and just tried to catch up to you as quickly as possible. And sometimes that really just took the fun out of the game. But for the most part, it was really cool. I mean, it was your fun board game, your party style board game. But I don't know. At the end of the day with the gameplay, I feel like with a couple of minor tweaks, the difficulty setting, I mean, they're not going to tweak this game at this point. This game's already tweaked. But some difficulty setting help would be nice. I had some weird issues with the characters. But hey, I thought it was really cool. I mean, like I said, I'm 15 hours logged into it, and by the next time, we talk about this game, I'll probably be at 20 or 30. I really enjoy playing this game. It's not stopping me from playing this game. I just thought it was really different. James, soundtrack, hit me up.
I gave it another 7.
Nice. Look at you, huh?
Full of 7s.
You're like a slot machine.
Yes.
Yeah.
I wish. No, it's, I thought, it's got a nice electronic, soundtrack to it. So it was, catchy little music. I thought the musicians who played on the soundtrack did an excellent job, had a good groove, had a good beat.
Yeah,
So.
I was a big fan myself. I liked it. I liked it how each character had its own little soundtrack. You know, when one character placed into the lead, the soundtrack changed. I thought that was a cool addition to it. It wasn't like a boring, constantly the same soundtrack. Kind of when you heard your theme music, you were like, yes, kicking ass, you know, kind of thing. So I liked that a lot. So the soundtrack was good. The sound effects were really, really good. I gave it a 7 as well. Let's get into replayability, and this is where my numbers jump up. James, replayability, hit me.
It was a 7. Another 7.
It was a 7. My goodness.
Seven,
Good
seven,
Lord.
seven. Yeah, I thought definitely, you know, I could see myself playing this game. You know, just getting a little bored of my other stuff. Pull this one out. It'll come into circulation. So,
sure, I gave it a 9.
wow.
I know, because, well, I've logged 15 hours onto it, James. It's only been,
you actually, and you have
2
logged,
weeks?
Yeah, many more hours than I have.
I feel like the hours that I've logged on it in 2 weeks speak for itself. That's, I mean, I really, I shouldn't really have to say any more than that. The amount of games that I have to play on a daily basis, the fact that I've made time in 14 days to play 15 hours, is enough for me to say that the replayability clearly deserves a 9. If not
awesome.
higher, but I'm staying at 9. James, we get to add another one to our rating system because we don't normally get these for all the games, but multiplayer. Did you get to play multiplayer?
Actually, no, I didn't. But I did look at the multiplayer, and I liked what I saw. I liked it so much, I gave it a 7.
Oh, you just gave the funniest rating. You're just like, yep, I'm cool. It's above average across the board. I gave multiplayer an 8. I did get to play. I played a couple of rounds online. It was very fun. And
awesome.
I'm a big fan of playing multiplayer anything. So my overall rating for this game was a 7.6. James, I'm assuming your overall rating for this game is...
hold on, let me calculate this.
All right, let's look at it here.
Carry the 7 over and add a 7 to the 7.
Yep, 7. Add a 7. 2 7s. Divide by...
Oh, hold on, I think I made a
77s.
mistake. Let me calculate. Oh!
Okay.
7.
Oh.
7.
Ah, it's a 7. Well, there you go. So the PPR this week, this game is called 100% Orange Juice. James gave it a 7. I gave it a 7.6. We're going to get into the mailbag, so sit tight. You know what I would... Actually, you know what, James? Before we get into the mailbag? I've always wanted to drink a gallon of orange juice. What about you? Just like sit...
In one sitting?
Just drink...
No.
Yeah, just one straight... You don't want to just sit and drink like one big, giant, pulpy orange juice?
That'd be crazy.
Now, do they still... That would be too intense, I think, sometimes. But I'm going to go for it, I think, one day. That's a life goal of mine. Is to become an orange juice drink aficionado.
Better start training.
I think that's going to be... I got to start training. I'm going to start small. I'm going to start with an 8-ounce glass. I'm going to work my way up. 16, 32. By the time I'm done, 2 gallons. 2 gallons straight one sitting. That's just how I do it. Extra pulp.
Dude, I hate to be your toilet.
That's just how it's going to be.
I think I've been down enough. It's like I'm always looking up to those who never ever had to make their choices on their own. I think I've had about enough of all your own. I haven't grown. What are you gonna do when mom and daddy leave you on your own? I guess it's all or nothing, for better or for worse. I really don't appreciate it.
And it's the mailbag, baby.
Alrighty.
And the mailbag is a little old place where we can answer questions. Mailbag, baby. Mailbag, baby. Oh, man. Little B-52s.
Oh,
That's
I remember
fun.
them.
James, we are running short of time already, so let's try to bang these questions.
Gosh,
out
we gotta
really
stop
quick.
gabbing so much. No.
We've been yakking and yakking. We had like a 10-minute intro before we even got into the subject.
I know, but hey, it might turn into a new show segment. You know.
Yeah, just yakking about garbage. We'll call it yakking about garbage. All right. Well, I got one of the questions right in front of me. You want me to start?
Okay.
I don't have a mailbag sound effect like you do. You want to ruffle some papers for me?
Yeah, mine's just a bag of papers and a. Okay, here we go. I'll do it.
Great. There we go. All right, reach into it.
All right, here you go.
Okay, cool. Oh, thank you, James. It was just handed to me through the phone. This first question's from Zane L. And he writes, do you think American culture has influenced Japanese video games as much as the Japanese video games has influenced our culture? That's some deep thoughts, brother.
Huh.
I mean, you know what? Like, from what I've seen I mean, Japanese culture is a whole entire awesome, totally awesome, different culture in itself. Like, it's tough for us to say, but I mean, without a doubt, like, video games that have come out over the years have been influenced by American movies and stars and stuff like that. I mean, if you just look at Contra as a perfect example.
Oh, yeah.
Of, like, the guys on the cover, like, clearly are ripoffs of Schwarzenegger, Stallone, and the Alien from the Alien movies. You know, like,
yeah.
That's not the only example of it. And I know a lot of celebrities go over there and make, TV commercials and stuff like that. It's a big
oh yeah,
it's a big industry. So I think yes, I think both cultures influence each other quite a bit. But I feel like the American culture definitely borrows a lot more or enjoys a lot more of the Japanese culture as far as the video gaming and like anime stuff goes. Like, South Park isn't as popular in Japan as it is here, but Cowboy Bebop was just as popular here as it was in Japan, kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, of course.
I don't think we're the same. I don't think we're the same as far as like, I feel like the stuff that the Japanese people make is geared for them, and is more people find it to be their cup of tea, if you will.
And I find that there's a certain level of sophistication about their video game industry. There's like even the PPR this week. It's a board game based. It's almost like they have like these silly, the characters are super silly, but the actual gameplay is very sophisticated, and that's kind of like the charm of it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no dumbing it down. It's a simple concept board game, but it's not like. Not anybody. You can't just hit A and walk through that game like you can with a lot of other party games. We borrow a lot more than they borrow, for sure. But I think each culture has definitely had its time stamp on both of us. I mean, the Nintendo's huge. The Sony's huge. These are Japanese companies. Microsoft is big here and not as big in Japan, kind of thing. It's just, I feel like, I mean, I'm sure we've definitely, I think the ratios are skewed. That's all. I think, we pick up a little bit more from them as far as the gaming industry is concerned. We pick up a little bit more from them than they, pick up from us, for sure. But it's still awesome. It's still awesome both ways. When you see both versions of something, it's still really cool.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely. It's kind of like that Godzilla versus King Kong. They made like 2 of those movies and with different endings.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that's really cool if you think about that. I mean, the clashes are really epic, and we borrow a lot of horror from Japan as well.
Oh yeah,
it's not just
and our action movies
and.
I mean, try watching
action movies.
Yeah, like watching Arnold Schwarzenegger, punch across the screen, which is fun. But then watch Jet Li. It's like, oh.
Well, man. and then there's James Bond and Golago, and then there's
and Jet Li's Chinese, I understand, but I'm just saying like more the Asian in general.
Well, yeah, that's that
because anime does exist outside of Japan too. So. Right,
and on top of all that. there's like our old westerns are influenced from a lot of Japanese. The Good, the Bad, the Ugly is taken from a Japanese film called Yojimbo.
Oh wow!
And these are, I mean, these are little things that, like, you know, aren't really known. But if you watch Yojimbo and you watch The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, they're almost shot for shot. One's a samurai and one's a western, but they're virtually the same movie. It's something kind of cool to look into. Yeah. And yes, Yojimbo came first. So we pick up, they pick up. It's all one big awesome spin around. But I think Japanese culture, we benefit more from it than they benefit from us.
Yeah.
Until we're buying stuff in everything in a vending machine, I don't think we're quite there yet. We're almost there. Almost there. James, you got a question? Oh, thank you very much, Zane, by the way, for writing in.
Yes.
All right, reach into that super awesome bag. You got the bag still? Reach in.
There we go. Hold on, another one.
All right. I hear it.
All right, here we go.
I hear it. Okay.
It's from Robert T.
All right.
He says, I wanted to get my son something unique for his birthday coming up. I already have a game picked out for his PS4, but what other accessories would you suggest for his game system? Yeah, I don't know if there's a lot.
You know what? It's kind of a bummer getting a pre-order for somebody. I mean, obviously, you know, the VR helmet's coming out for the PlayStation.
Of course.
That would be really rad. You know, that would be really cool to get him. I don't know how old your son is. Did he say how old his son was?
No, it doesn't say.
No, okay. So like, I mean, sometimes VR on younger eyes is a little bit tougher. I mean, there's the PlayStation camera is really cool. There's plenty of fun little games that you get on the PSN store. Like the Rabbids game. There's a lot that's got a lot of cool like mini games that he can play where he's like slapping stuff on the screen and like all that kind of stuff. And then there's like the PS Move sticks. There's not a lot of games that are supported on the PlayStation 4, but once the virtual reality comes out, there's going to be a lot of support for them. You can also stream a lot of PlayStation 3 games and use those sticks. I know there are golf games out there, not exactly the most fun for a kid, but there's a lot of fun games out there still that use the sticks. I think Time Crisis actually used those.
Yeah.
So you can, you know, there's plenty of things that you can use with the sticks. I don't know. I don't know if they're called wands or sticks. I don't remember what they call them. PlayStation spinny bulb things. They are kind of weird. They change color though. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, as far as PlayStation 4 is concerned, there's not a lot of stuff out yet. Whatever game you got him, you can probably look in to see if there's downloadable content. So he's got extra game. There's also like a lot of cool controllers that come out. Like specifically, some of them are a little bit more expensive than other ones. I mean, you know, I was one of the lucky ones to get the classic PlayStation 1 controller before it like disappeared. It's really, I don't know how hard it is to find those now, but I mean, they got blue and camo and all sorts of stuff. So, and then if it's a fighting game or something like that, you can always get a fight stick. That's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, those are fun. Those are fun to play with. And a lot of kids develop awesome, you know, arcade talent with that and take them to tournaments. So arcade sticks are always really cool. And I know a lot of people who have extremely, really nice customized ones with really cool buttons on them and stuff like that. So, I mean, there's a lot of really cool things. I mean, and you know, a fight stick will run you anywhere from $80 to $160, depending on what model you go with. I mean, obviously you can go way higher, but I mean, your basic ones are right there. So I don't know. What I mean, anything you think, James, on that or?
No, I mean, besides that, you know, maybe have a nice headset, you know, getting him something nice.
Oh, yeah.
Like, Sony's makes a bunch of nice Bluetooth headsets, and and again, you know, you could pay under $100 or you can go over $100 and get something nice, you know, maybe.
Yeah, you get a headset. Turtle Beach makes nice headsets for them too.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that would be,
you know, whatever my
only suggestion.
That's good. Yeah. I mean, I agree with that. I mean, there's not much out yet, you know. The the system's still pretty infant. Same thing with the Xbox. I mean, you're getting all the same products at this point. Eventually, they're gonna make something a little bit more, unique to the system. And when those things come out, maybe his next birthday is when you'll be able to pick those up. You know what I mean? But right now, that's pretty much all they have to offer. Nice headset, though. I mean, I like the Sony headset. I love mine. It's great. It's great when there's a lot of noise going on outside or somebody's listening to music in the house and you want to like concentrate on the game. It's a great headset, so I like it.
For sure.
Cool. Who was that, Rob?
Yes, Robert.
Thanks, Rob. Thanks, Robert. Thank you, Robert, for writing in. Cool, man. Well, James, one more week. We'll see everybody at PAX.
Yes.
This is our last podcast before PAX. And we've got an interview coming up with Access, the company Access, and they're making a new football game, and they want to talk about it on our podcast, which is really exciting. We just heard back from them, James. I'm sorry I didn't forward you the email yet.
Oh yeah, I'll look into that. Get that all hooked up.
It's going to be sometime in May. We gave them 2 dates, so it'll either be mid-May or the first weekend of June, the first week of June. So. For release, we're going to do the interview in May. Very nice company. They make a bunch of cool games. If you go on the Steam market, you can check out under Access, under the game company. They have a football simulator from the year before. They're making a new one with a bunch of awesome improvements. So we're going to talk about that for a little bit. Again, I want to thank Dave for hooking us up with the 10% off at his store, Play It Retro. Located in Bruin, Illinois. So definitely check out his store, 3142 Oak Park Avenue. Really cool. If you go to the counter and you go to check out, you get 10% off your purchase if you mention this podcast. So take advantage of that, folks. This is some good stuff here. And of course, we'll see you at PAX. We'll have a lot of fun stuff, and can't wait. James and I you're gonna see us. We're gonna be probably slothy from eating garbage, but we'll be happy to take pictures with you and happy to answer any of your questions and give you out some free stuff if we still have it. It'll be really good to see everybody, and I can't wait. It'll be fun. Can't wait to go to PAX. Can't wait to buy some stuff that I don't need, which is usually what happens. And then our old friend Ooh La La is going to come up with us when we go to Fun Spot. That'll be great. So Ooh La La is going to come up with us, and that'll be fun. So I'm sure we'll be Instagramming and Twittering all day. And she's got tons of followers on her Instagram and Twitter. So it'll be a lot of fun. It's always fun meeting up with her. So I am going to sign off now. What do you think, James?
Let's do that. Yes, let's sign off and get some
I think we did everything. Oh, don't forget, you can write us every week. Yeah, I forgot. You can write us every week at ysptpodcast@gmail.com, or you can get us on Facebook, or you can get us on Instagram, whatever. I don't care.
Yeah.
Just send us something. It's fine. It's fine. Say hi. Whatever you want to do. It's no big deal to us. And we will be back next week, hopefully next week. We're going to try to squeeze in. We're going to be, gone. We're going to try to squeeze in a podcast while James is here. So we're going to be all over the place. So hopefully I'm sure we'll be able to squeeze one in, right?
Yeah.
It's not that much work.
We'll figure it out.
We might not have a PPR. We might not have a mailbag because we're on the road the whole time. But we'll definitely squeeze in something fun, PAX related.
Yeah, I was going to say, we've just gone to PAX, so we'll talk about PAX.
For sure. And maybe we'll get some interviews. We'll see what we can do. It'll be really cool.
Yeah.
I am Babam1337.
And this is Dozer, the PC Exposer.
And we will see you next week. Take it easy. You should play this universe.
See ya.
And fade the music up. Oh. And we're out. All right. I'm going to hit stop now.
Oh, me too.